Today you are going to see the awesome power of WordPress when I recreate the NASA website in under 30 minutes, just using WordPress, the default WordPress block theme, and core Gutenberg blocks with no plugins and no CSS. Hi, my name is Jamie and I'm the founder of Poodlepress, a company where we eat, sleep and breathe WordPress blocks and block themes. I've trained over 5,000 people on WordPress over the past 10 years, and if you want to see more videos where I recreate famous websites, check out my YouTube channel. The NASA website is a great challenge because it was built using WordPress, but the actual project was enormous and very, very complex, totaling 68,698 pages, 3,023 new landing pages and 456 users, and deep integrations into the NASA single sign-on system and their missions database. If you want to follow along, I've set you up a one-click website with everything you need pre-installed, link in description below. All the images that I use in this video are from the NASA website and are just for learning purposes and not commercial use. Right, let's dive in. This video is brought to you by Envato Elements, the largest unlimited creative subscription in the world. Get seriously creative. Click the link in the description to find out more. So over on the left, I have my website. It's just a clean installation of WordPress. I've done nothing at all to it apart from add a few pages. Over on the right is the NASA website that I'm going to try and recreate in just 30 minutes. You can see it here. Looking great. And the first thing I'm going to start with is the header along the top. This has some interesting elements. It has a split menu. So two menus, one on the right, one on the left, a search box, and the logo in the middle. So I'm going to click on Edit Site in the admin toolbar at the top here. That will take me into the site editor, and now I can edit the header. And I think the way I'm going to do this today, just to make it simple, is within here, you can see I've just got a bunch of blocks. It's actually using the row block, but I need a logo in the middle. So I'm just going to delete everything to start with and start from scratch. So I'm going to start by adding the columns block. So I click on the plus sign and find the columns block. Now I want 3 columns. I'm going to change the proportions though, because I want 3 columns with my logo in the middle, but I can change the width of each of these columns and the proportions. Now I think I probably want the first one to be, and I'm going to choose percentage over here on the right. So I selected the column, selected percent, and I'm going to say I want this to be 40%. And I think I'm going to do the same for the one over on the right. Let's change that to 40% as well. And now I can start to build out my NASA header. I'm going to start by changing the background color to black. I will change the height in a minute and change the text color to white just by selecting text here. And now I'm going to add my logo in the middle column here. So I'm just going to click on the plus and search for site logo. Here's my NASA logo, which I've pre-downloaded. Now you can change the size of it just by dragging it up and down here. So click on the plus sign, search for navigation block, and it's actually found that one all right. You can see over here it's put the navigation block in for me. And I've created already 2 navigations, a left and a right. And then over on this one here, I want to select another navigation block. You see it's selected the wrong one, but I can click on these 3 dots and select right navigation. And I think the only other thing I need to do here is align these columns, the elements, the blocks in the columns to be in the middle. And hopefully now we should have something approximating the NASA one as well. Now it's time to move on to the hero section under here. Now the NASA one is actually a slider of some kind. So you would need a plugin. And now the part of this challenge is today I'm not going to use plugins. So I'm just going to create this as a static hero section. I'm not a huge fan of sliders anyway. So I'm going to go edit site, and you'll see here we've got the header, which I've just created. Underneath there, I've got just a group block. I'm going to delete the whole thing. So basically this will let me start off with a brand new page. I'm going to add the cover block into this section here, because the cover block is a fantastic block. It lets me add pretty much all I need to accomplish this. And you'll see I can choose an image as the background, which is that image there. And there we go. There's my cover block. You'll see we've got a bit of margin going on here, but I'm going to solve that in a second. And this is where I can start to build out my cover block. So there's a few really interesting things happening with the cover block over on the right, the NASA one. We've got this graduation going on where it gets lighter at the top right and darker on the bottom left. We obviously got this text here as well. And we've also got these 3 little sections under there. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do those, but let's start off by just adding some text into my cover block here. And you can see I can just write over the top of it really simply. So you have this functionality with block themes where you can group blocks. Group blocks are a little bit like container blocks. And when you group a block, you can do lots of cool stuff, but one of the nice things you can do is you can actually set the content width. So I could change it here to, let's say, 450. So I get much more control over the width of my natural text. Now I just need to add this button block underneath my text paragraph. So I'm going to hit return. A good tip for you as well is a shortcut to add blocks. You can type / and then the name of the block you want to add. So in this case, buttons, and then my text. I'm going to show you how you style this button in a second. To link that button, you just click on it and come up here to the top, and there's your little link icon. There are two ways to dial your buttons. You can either do it per button, in which case you just click on it, come across to your block settings, and come to background here, and you can change the color. Or if you want to do them globally, come to this little icon in the top right, click on styles. This is a really nice feature. This is the style book. This is a visual way of designing and seeing all your blocks. Just click on design here. There's your little button, and you can come in here and you can change the background. And I'm just going to pick that red color. The beauty of doing it this way globally is it will change it on all the blocks on your site. So if you had 1,000 buttons on your site, they would all be updated. So I just need to remove this bit of white space here. That's because the columns block that I use for my navigation has a bit of bottom margin. So I think I can just remove that here over in the block settings. Let's drag that down. So the margin's gone. I'm now going to make the cover block a little bit higher just by dragging that. So again, I've just selected the cover block, and you can just use this little circle down here, literally to just pull it up and down, and you can see the pixels go as I drag. And then the final thing I wanted to add is this overlay effect here. So make sure you have the cover block selected, come to styles, come to overlay, come to gradient. This is where you can set your gradient and the angle of your gradient. So you have these color pickers here, left and right. So I want this one down here to be very dark, and I want this one over here probably to be white. And you can see I have this nice gradient effect going on now. Now I can change the angle of my gradient here, and I can also change the gradient overlay. So I might not want this to be completely white in the top. I might want to change that so it's a bit more subtle. But you can see how now we can highlight this. We can also change these color pickers as well, by the way, so you can really be precise. So this is where I'm at. I'm pretty good. I think I'm quite happy with it. Now, I haven't done this section down here because I want to crack on and get to this section here, which is really interesting. If I have time, because I've only got 30 minutes, I will come back and show you how to do this. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's just a row block, but let's crack on to this featured news section down here. Now, this section here is linking off to a whole bunch of posts. There's a fantastic block that comes with WordPress core, which is called the query loop block. First up, I just need to add these two headings here. So I'm going to select the cover block over on the left, click on the three dots and go add after. I'm going to use the row block as my container block. And then in this section here, I'm going to add a heading block. So click on the plus sign and search for heading. There's the block. And then all I need to do, because I'm using the row block, is hit return and type the rest of it. And that is also a heading. So I'm just going to select the little paragraph option up there, choose heading, and I'm going to choose, it looks like probably a heading 3. And then I just select the row container and come to this option here, and I can actually just turn this into flex, and immediately it goes to where I want. I just want to focus in on how we create this layout over on the right, and I'm going to use the query loop block for this. I've added the column, so I'm going to add the query loop block into this left-hand column. And I'm going to start blank, and I'm just going to choose title, date, and excerpt. Now you'll see when you first bring it in, it's going to bring in a whole bunch of your posts into that column. We can change the number of posts by going to item per page and selecting one. And the beauty is the query loop block is just made up of blocks, so we can remove all the stuff we don't want and add new stuff in here. You'll see at the moment I've got the title, the date, and the excerpt. Let's say I wanted the date above the title, I could just move it up. So you've got complete control over the layout of your post grid. Now, in my particular instance, I want to create this sort of card layout. So I'm going to use the cover block for this. So I'm just going to go add after. Now I'm going to delete a lot of these elements in a second. I'm going to go cover. And one of the great points about the cover block is you can use the featured image to bring in your content. So that's going to bring in the featured image of that particular post. Now, this is where we start to design this. So we've got this section over here that says news release. So I'm just going to type some words. And another nice feature about the cover block, which is built in, is you've got this little dot matrix up here where you can actually change the content position. So I can choose top left, and you see it's now top left. Now I can start to design this out. Now, there are a number of ways you could do this. I'm just going to get the basic structure right first. In fact, let's just delete the title and the excerpt down here. So we're just left with our little card that we're designing, which is this card over here. So there's a few ways you could do this. You could stack it, and you could, let's just make this a bit smaller, and you could do all sorts of things. But actually, one of the easiest ways, especially if you're just starting out, is to use what's called the spacer block. So I'm just going to add the spacer block in here. And you see I can actually just drag this now to create space. And what that means is I can put other elements down here. So after the spacer block, if I just hit return, I actually want the post title. And that's going to bring in the post title into that space. So you see how quickly and easily you can start to design these layouts. And then to finish off, all I need to do is add this little time to read block. So I'm going to select the title, and go add before, and then I'm going to go / time to read, and that'll add the time to read block. Now, the only thing we're missing on that is we've got the time, but it doesn't say read after it. So I want to show you this because this is a neat trick. What we can do is group it, change it into a row block, and then we can add a paragraph block afterwards, and then we can put the words in read, like so. So we've put this in a row block, select the row block, and now we can just change the block spacing over here. So we can reduce the spacing down so it's a bit tighter. If you want more precision, which I'm going to do here, you can actually sort of set the pixels as well. So there is our little time to read block. Let's just change that. And that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Not completely identical, but it's good enough for this little challenge. Now, all I'm going to do is duplicate that a few times. So I'm going to select the query loop itself, and I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to go into the second column here, and I'm going to add the paragraph block because that lets me add another block in here. And you can see I can now adjust this accordingly. You can also, on the cover block, you can set a minimum height, which I'm going to do here. So I'm going to say minimum height 500, and I'm going to do it for the first one as well. I should have done that first. Minimum height 500, and that means they're all going to be the same height. And you can adjust the spacing accordingly. Now, the only other thing we need to do here, because we've got the same post in the second column, we're going to use the offset. So we select the query loop itself, click on these little options here, and you can see you can choose an offset. So if you offset it, what that means is it's basically bypassing the first post and going to the second post. And that's exactly what we want. And we're going to replicate this now for this little section over here. Again, this is one column with 2 posts in it, and we're just changing the minimum height on them. Quickly duplicated that one twice, and now all I need to do is to change the offset. So make sure I've selected the query loop itself, and I can change the offset to this one to 3, and that'll bring in the third post. And then this one here, I'm going to change the offset again, select the query loop block. I'm going to change the offset to 4. We have these little section underneath. So I'm going to add the query loop block into this group block that I've already added. And then I can choose here. Now, these are patterns that are pre-designed, and I'm looking for something that's a bit like this, where we've got a 2-column layout for each card. So we've got this little featured image with the post title on the right. This looks close enough for me, so I'm going to add that one. What's great about this is that we can actually start to decide first how many posts I want to show in the page. So I want 4 posts, but we can also change the layout. In the post template option here, I can actually change this to a grid layout, and I can also set the number of columns over here. So you can see we're sort of getting close-ish. I need to reduce the title size, so I'm working very fast. I'm going to reduce the title size here. It's not too far away. Then I'm going to select the featured image here and just change the size of that. So I want the aspect ratio to be square. I'm going to change the height to 100. And then finally, I'm going to add a radius of half that, which will give me that sort of circle effect. And the other thing I want to do on the columns here itself is I want to change the block spacing. So I want to add a bit of padding here. And there we go. We're looking fairly close to what we wanted. The only other thing we need is the time to read block above the title. So I'm going to select the title block and go add before. I'm going to add the time to read block, and I'm going to reduce the size. That's not too bad. Make it a little bit smaller. So let's go down to 10 pixels, and I'm going to turn that into a group block and make it a row, which means I can do my paragraph on after again. I can also change the size of that. I can't remember what I said now. I think it was 8. And I can change the block spacing between these if I select the row block itself. And again, that will just make them a bit tighter. Actually, I've chosen the wrong size, haven't I? So let's just select that. Just check. It's 10 points. So change that to 10 points, like so. And then again, I just need to select the row block and choose the block spacing, which will scrunch up my little... Let's do pixels just because I know that works. That's probably a bit big. I'm working super fast, so you probably want to work a bit more slowly than me. And there we go. That's pretty accurate. The only other thing I think I probably want to do on this group block is add a little bit of margin to the top. So I'm going to select top margin here just to give it a bit of breathing space between the grid above. And there we go. There's my fairly complex grid layout. Now you can see at the moment I'm replicating these posts. We would use our offset again here. So this is where I'm at. This is my site over on the left. This is the official NASA website over on the right. It's pretty good. It's not exactly perfect, but it's for 20 minutes work. It's pretty good. I'm happy with this section here. This is my post grid. This is their post grid. Actually, theirs is quite a bit shorter, so I'll probably change that, but it's okay for now. Let's move on though. we've got this section down here. Now this is pretty much the same as this section here. So here's a really good tip in terms of working quickly. I'm just going to go back into this page and copy. Let's click on the list view and just copy that cover. And what I'm going to do is just literally go add after down here. Oh, not there. Let's move that down. So the list view is drag and drop, so I can move that down and I can literally just paste that in now. And what I can do, let's just close all this down so you can see what I'm doing. All I need to do really is to change the text and the background image and remove this button. Just select the cover block itself, come up here and click on replace. I'm going to choose a different image. There's my image and you're going to insert it. And now you can play around with the background gradient. So make sure you have the cover block selected, click on styles here, come to overlay. And this is where you can actually do things like change the opacity and also the angle of your gradient. So you can be really specific. So if you've got text over here and you want that to pop more, you can play around with it. And that looks pretty good to me. I might just want to change this so it's a little bit more transparent. You see you've got a little transparency slider here as well. So I think that's looking pretty much perfect. Let's just close that down and check that out. The only other thing I'd probably want to add here, well, a little bit of space, bit of margin up here, and this little bit of text here, I'd add a row block and I'm going to add that little icon in. So let's do that now. So just hit return and I'm just going to type learn more. And I can make that bold and change the size by going to block settings here. And I can do appearance and let's make that bold. And probably want to change the size. I'm working very, very quickly. Now, what I want to do here is turn that into a little group block. So I'm just going to group it. And you can probably guess what's going to happen now. I'm going to turn it into a row block. Then I'm going to add my little icon, my little image icon, which hopefully I've got one somewhere. Let's go to Media Library. There it is. That should do the trick. And I'm just going to make it smaller. And that's looking pretty good, actually. I could change the block spacing by going to the row block and just play around with the block spacing, make it a little bit tighter. Let's close that down. Let's close that down. So let's quickly build out this layout. We're just going to start by adding the columns block over here underneath our cover block. And then we're going to choose 2 columns and you can sort of choose the proportions. You can change this as you've seen before. And I'm just going to make sure I use the list view. I would always recommend you use the list view. Let me just stretch this a bit wider so you can see properly what I'm up to here. And the first thing I'm going to do is make this wide width. In this left-hand one, I just want a paragraph block at the top. So I'm going to type paragraph, and this is where I write today, and then I'm going to hit return. I will group these in a minute so I can scrunch them. And then the heading is image of the day, like so, not that day. And then underneath that, I'm just going to copy and paste this text for speed. Just paste that in. And then over on the right here, I've just got this image. And then in this right-hand column, I'm going to add the image block and add that image, which I should have in my library. There it is. Let's add that in. And then I need to do a little bit of scrunching. So I'm going to select these 2 blocks here. You can see in the list view, and I'm going to group those. And as soon as you group something, then it gives you access to block spacing, which is the easiest way to play around with your sizes here. So you can see as I move this up and down, how those are now scrunching up nicely, because within that group, I have the paragraph and that image of the day text. So just select the group block, come to settings and go to block spacing. You can see I can get them really quite tight. And then we've got this paragraph block here, which needs a little bit more space. Now there's a number of ways you could do this. Again, I could group these 2 if I wanted to, which I might do. I might do it this way. Let's do it that way. And then I can actually just add some margin above that block using the block stars. So let's choose margin at top. And yeah, if I add some margin here, this is where I've got to. This is the front page hero, looking pretty good. NASA's is over on the right, mine's on the left. And there's my complex blog section there with the post grid coming in. There's that hero. That's looking fairly accurate. There's the image of the day. And then really, that's kind of where I've got to. If you go on the NASA homepage, there's quite a lot more stuff, but actually this is all stuff we've already covered. So hopefully you can see it's just replicating. That's the cover block. There's that post grid that I've already created. So all I would do, which I'll do very quickly, is just to duplicate these. The only other thing I want to show you in this tutorial is this footer section here. And this is my current default footer, but you can customize it completely again because it's just built using blocks. So to edit the footer is fairly straightforward. You just click on Edit Site at the top here. That'll take you back into the site editor. And down here is our footer. You can see it's a purple color because it's actually a reusable template part, which means it's being used on more than one template, but it's just made out of blocks. So we can customize everything in here. So if you can see, I've got the columns block. Now they have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So actually we can say over on the right, we want 5 columns and we can start to customize this. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the background color. So I'm going to select the group block, select background and choose a black color. I'm going to make my text white. I've got my little logo up here. And now let's make this wider so you can see exactly what's going on. You can see now I've got all the columns in place, and I would just go through and basically write my text. So it's fairly straightforward actually here. All we've got here is a bunch of links. I will show you this one very quickly, this follow NASA with some social icons, because that's quite cool. So I'm going to click on this 5th column over here, and I'm going to add the paragraph block in here. So this is just follow. Then I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to add the social icons block. And this is where you add your social icons. You can see it's added the block over here. And this is where you can add your icons. So I'm going to add Twitter here. I won't put the actual addresses in. This is where you put the link to your Twitter account. I'm just putting kind of fake links in here. And then you can add other ones in here as well. So let's just add a few. Let's add Facebook as well. And I'm going to show you how to customize them in a second. Let's go YouTube. There's my YouTube one. And then if I want to style those, I select the icons block, social icons block over on the left, and I can come into my block settings here and I can click on styles and I can change the icon background and color. Let's just check out what we've got here. So we've got like a sort of gray background color. So I'm going to let's choose that color now. I could be more precise and I'm going to choose a white icon color. There we go. There's my little icon. Over on the left is my site. This is the official NASA website. Let's scroll down, see how we get on. So this is the featured news section. That's pretty good. And these all link off to the actual posts themselves. So it's all fully functional. And that hero section is looking good. I've added a few more sections here. That's pretty close. And then the Earth Information Center, that's not too bad at all. There's slight differences, but I was working very quickly. The latest news, I've just basically copied my existing one. Again, these are too high. I'll just go in and change the minimum height on these. Explore the universe. Mine's a bit too deep. I'd make that a little bit smaller. And the final section here, which I want to finish off by showing you, is this section here, but hopefully you can work out how we're going to do this. This is pretty straightforward. This is just a columns block with 4 columns. In each columns block, we have a cover block, and we're just going to position the text at the bottom. We're going to use a row block to align the paragraph here to the little icon. So I'm going to start by adding the columns block. I'm going to go /columns. That will add the columns block. I'm just going to add 2 columns to start with, because I'm going to show you a really neat trick on how to speed up your workflow. I'm going to choose wide width, and I'm going to get the first one right to start with. So I'm going to add in this column the cover block like so, and I'm going to choose one of my images. That's the image I want. Now it's going to have an overlay on it, so I'm going to start by getting rid of that overlay. So select the cover block, come over here and just get rid of that overlay. Then I'm going to write your title, which is missions. Then I'm going to position it by clicking on the cover block over on the left and selecting the position down here. Now all I need to do is to add the little icon. So what I'm going to do is group that cover block like so. Sorry, the paragraph block. Now I can add a block after it, which is the image block. Let's add the image block afterwards. So here's the one from NASA. Here's the one I've just created. So once you get the first one right with your little paragraph and the icon next to it, just using the row block again, what I'm going to do is select the columns block, and I'm just going to duplicate it a few times. You see I can just duplicate it here. And now once I've got it duplicated, all I would need to do is to go into each, let's delete that last one. All I would need to do is to go into each one, change the background image and change the text. Let's see how I got on. So my site is on the left, just using WordPress, no CSS, no plugins, just core WordPress. Over on the right is the NASA website, and we'll start at the top. So this is the header section here, and I got pretty close. I didn't actually put a background behind the search box, but apart from that, it's pretty good. Then we have this hero section here, and theirs is a slider. Now I couldn't do a slider because I'm just using core blocks, but I actually think it looks pretty good. I don't really like sliders anyway, so I'm happy with that. Then we come down here to this fairly complex grid section. Now I've got the main functionality built in this, and these all actually link off to the posts themselves. You can see mine is slightly too deep, but that's very easy to rectify. I just didn't have time in the 30 minutes. But the main functionality I've built, it's a pretty complex post grid, and we've got most of the good stuff on here. Then we've got this section down here, and again, that's pretty accurate. That's not too bad at all. Then we've got some more hero sections, this one here. I mean, that's pretty spot on. Remember, I used this lovely gradient effect that you get with the cover block. I mean, that's pretty accurate. I'm happy with that. Then this is probably the simplest section. Mine's a little bit too narrow. I could have added a bit more space, but the basics are there. It's not bad at all. It still looks good. Then we've got another hero section down here, the Earth Information Center section. And that's pretty good. Again, some spacing issues, but not bad. I've got the main thrust of it. Then we've got basically just a replication of some of the other sections, the post grid. And I would just increase the offset if I was doing this for real. Then we've got this section here. I probably need to change the opacity on the overlay. Apart from that, it's not bad at all. Then we've got this section here, which is pretty much spot on, I think. And I just used the Collins block here and added some cover blocks in. And yeah, that's pretty good. And then I've got the footer section at the bottom where, you know, I've not replicated it exactly, but the main design elements are definitely there. So for 30 minutes, just using core WordPress blocks, I hope you can see how powerful WordPress has become now in terms of you can just take a design and with a bit of knowledge, you can create pretty much anything with standard WordPress blocks. There are some limitations, of course, and that's where you might need some CSS and some plugins, but it's pretty powerful stuff. I just want to finish off by showing you what my site looks like on a mobile. And because we've used core Gutenberg blocks, it pretty much all works out the box. So this is my site. I've just scrunched it to see what it looks like on a smaller screen. And you can see it all looks pretty good. There's not really any issues at all. I think that's pretty much, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fine out the box. There may be a few tweaks that you want to do, but pretty good. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, then huge kudos to you. Remember, if you want to have a go yourself, there is a one-click website, link in description below, where you can follow along. Maybe have a go at adding that row underneath the hero section that I didn't have time to complete. Remember, if you want to see more videos like this, check out my YouTube channel. And finally, a big thank you to Envato for helping me spread the word about WordPress block themes. Keep well. See you soon. Bye for now.